Delegated administration is another feature of the software. Microsoft talks about, and I think this is probably the biggest thing right here, which is workflow. Workflow-enabled applications are already part of the Microsoft Office suite, such as Excel and so forth. And there's several different tools you use to create workflows. Okay, but you're saying, well, fine, but what is a workflow? Well, a real-world example of a workflow is, let's say that you receive maybe an invoice in your email, and you get that invoice, and you can actually have your receptionist, secretary, whoever handles that, could actually just forward that email with that document to the special email address on your SharePoint site, and that document will automatically be added to the correct document library. But then your accounts payable person would receive an email telling them there's a new document that pertains to an invoice from a particular vendor. That would all be done automatically using what Microsoft refers to as workflows. And you can actually, there's a few that comes with SharePoint Services, but your SharePoint consultant or your computer person may be able to create custom workflows for you. Maybe your processes and procedures are a little different, but in order to do that, a couple tools you can use. One is called Sharepoint Designer, and that used to be an application excuse me, known as Microsoft Front Page, and Microsoft has now changed the name of that to SharePoint Designer, but it's actually the latest, greatest version of Front Page. You can also use, what is that you can use there? Visual Studio as well. So that's probably something a lot of small business folks don't have. But you know what? One of the neat things is, out-of-the-box functionality is pretty darn good, and can probably take you a lot further than what you're doing with manual filing cabinets or trying to store your documents to a shared folder on Drive or something like that. So it already comes with that. So it gets you there out of the box. And then what Microsoft did is they had 40 different templates out there right now to boost productivity, and some of these are pretty darn gone good. Now, a few of them you may not really appeal to your business, depends on what you're doing, and there's a list of them available on the Microsoft website. Another cool feature of SharePoint Services is called web parts. And you get a few. There's a lot of web parts available for download from the Microsoft site, and there's third-party people making web parts. We use a product called Microsoft CRM here, and we were able to locate a web part. So when you log in to our SharePoint site, you can see your tasks that you have in CRM right on your home page of the SharePoint site. And there's web parts from everything from the local weather to CRM and all kinds of information on these web parts, and very, very, very nicely done stuff. Finally, the search thing I think is really, really huge, because once you use SharePoint and you start putting your documents into SharePoint, then locating information really, really quickly becomes pretty much a snap. You know, a lot of small businesses, you'll have maybe a group of people that keep certain documents in their My Documents folder, and then maybe there's some documents in their shared folder on a network drive somewhere, and maybe you're printing out some PDFs and pass them around. And rather than necessarily, putting them in electronic format. But by using SharePoint as that central repository, there's a built-in search tool that really locates documents really, really quickly. or you can have information in your blogs, your wikis, documents. It's going to find all those. You can have more than one SharePoint Services server too on your network, and Microsoft recently released a brand new search server just for SharePoint Services and SharePoint Server, and it's called Search Server Express. That's also a free download. And what that does is allows you to search across multiple SharePoint sites. And that's very, very cool. And I want to remind you once again that as long as you have valid Microsoft Server licenses, this is free. I'm not talking about anything that's cost you 1 red cent. And I think that is really, really, really great.